I hope you can come and be a part of worship Sunday morning at the South Point Church of Christ. We're at the corner of Red Bridge and Warnell. We'd love to have you come be a part. We have services at 8:30 and 10:30. Class right in between, starting usually around 9:40, 9:45. Depends on the class and when everybody shows up. Um, Sunday night we meet at 5 p.m. We'd love to have you for all those times if you can make it. But we would love to see you on Sunday if you can be here with us. We are talking about something really, I think, exciting and interesting on Sunday. It's a concept that Jesus actually brings up in Luke chapter 18. He talks about um, righteousness. And in particular, we see Luke writing, he says, to some people who were confident of their own righteousness and looked down on everybody else, Jesus told a parable. And in this case, he's talking to people who feel overly confident about their righteousness, but um, they're wrong because they're thinking about a righteousness that comes from them, which is always the wrong kind of righteousness when we approach God. It's always the wrong way to think about righteousness when we come before God, trying to consider that God should somehow look at us or evaluate us based on our righteousness, what we've done. It's always a mistake because in fact we don't have a righteousness that is good enough to approach God and say, God, you should evaluate me, or look at me, look how good I am. None of us can approach God that way. So because of that, we shouldn't even think of our righteousness. That's a negative because of the arrogance that can happen in some people. But there's another side to that too. We can also think that our righteousness is so poor and it's so weak, and we do such a bad job of righteousness that we can't ever approach God. There's no way to do that. Both extremes are wrong. Thinking that you're so good that God, has to accept you because you're so wonderful, or thinking that you're so bad God can't accept you because you can never approach, His righteousness with your deeds or your actions or your behaviors. The fact is, both of those extremes are wrong. Right in the middle of those two extremes is what's actually correct, which is that we can only approach God through a righteousness that's not of our own. So it's not our righteousness, whether we think we're too good or we think we're too bad. Neither of those really is what it's about. It's about approaching God with the righteousness that comes from Christ. That's our hope. That's where we have a chance. That's what really the message is going to be about on Sunday morning, if you can come and be a part of that. Sunday night at 5 o'clock, we're going to talk about a really, really interesting story about a soldier who fought on for a long time, not realizing that the war that he had been fighting was actually over. And I'd like to make some spiritual application to that sometimes maybe we don't understand the war that we're fighting the right way. Maybe we don't think about that in the right way. There is a lot of spiritual discussion where the apostles talk about us being soldiers. So that's good language to talk about. But are we thinking about that war the right way? Are we thinking about the way that we wage that war, the way that we handle that battle, about whose side we're on, about the choices that we make and how those affect one side or the other in that battle that's happening? So we'll be talking about that on Sunday evening at 5 o'clock. Come at that time as well if you can make it. Hope to see you on Sunday.